to, and now I share my screen. All right, yeah, I'm super, super pumped for today. I'm really enjoying this book, I have to say, which
Uh,
as those of you, this stuff isn't always like my natural area of interest, the prophecies and all this stuff, but this is a very, very great book. Okay. So remember that we chapter 3 was this like weird 5 verse chapter, and we said like different religions and traditions break it up differently. So just a quick review of this, that God says, right, I'm gonna pour out my wrath on all flesh, and your sons and daughters and elders, everyone's gonna have different types of prophecy. And my spirit will even go upon the males and female slaves, right? That kind of equilibrium, and there will be the Dam Va'esh V'Timrod Ashan. The sun will turn into darkness and the moon into blood, but everyone who invokes God's name will escape, for this shall be a remnant of Mount Zion, and in Jerusalem, a remnant, right, or yeah, as God promised, anyone who invokes God will be among the survivors. Uvasridim asher Hashem koreh. Okay, so just to remember for the background, now we move into this version of chapter 4. All right. Ki hinei bayamim hahema uva'et hahi asher ashiv et shvut Yehuda v'Yerushalayim. So this translated is Verlo, in those days and in that time, when I restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem. So the first question is, this is a colon, or here's what's going to happen, but what time are we talking about? There are debates over when exactly this is referring to. Is this Messianic times? Yeah, he is the time of the War of Gog and Magog, all these things. Does anyone have a footnote with their own interpretation of when this is talking about?
I've got it could be Gog and Magog, but even Ezra suggests it could be describing not the Messianic era, but something occurring during the reign of Jehoshaphat.
Okay, good, great, great. So it's important to think about whether this is messianic or this worldly for a variety of reasons. So what's going to happen? V'kibatzti kol hagoyim v'horedatim el emek Yehoshaphat v'nishpatati imam sham al ami v'nachalati Yisrael asher pizru v'agoyim v'et arti chileku. So, excuse me, I will gather all the nations and bring them down to the valley of Yehoshaphat. There I will contend with them over my very own people, Israel. Contend, nishpatati, all right, which they scattered among the nations, for they divided my land amongst themselves. Does anyone have, first of all, a different word for nishpatati than contend? Do you have judge or anything like that?
I've got the
Instead
Valley of
of yeah,
Judgment.
yeah, I have, and I will enter into judgment with them.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know the formal meaning of contend. I mean, I know you have to contend with this idea, but I don't know if that's what can contend also can mean, but I don't know. So I'm not totally sure what the translators here meant by that.
Is
I've got
Jehoshaphat,
indict where you have contend.
You have what?
Indict.
Interesting. Oh, that's interesting.
I will
Uh-huh.
indict them concerning Israel.
Oh, I like that. Indeed. That's a good one.
uh, is that place Jehoshaphat, value, actually in existence? Do you know?
Great question. Yeah, so there's a question of, is this
Valley.
Yehoshaphat is a king. It also means God will judge. So is this a mythical, I mean not mythical, like messianic like place, or is this
Yeah.
literally a specific place? Do folks have different I assumed there would be different perspectives on this.
I also have alternatively the Valley of God's Judgment, which is
Mm,
Uh-huh.
from Rashi.
I like
hmm
that.
Okay. Yeah. So we don't know different perspectives. Sorry, I'm just trying to turn on here.
But Yehoshaphat would seem you could you translate it that way, I would think.
Yeah. It's important to like read to have in mind the two planes, I guess, that this can exist on. If this is real, is this right? Is this something that we're interpreting as really happening in a real place, or is this all, Gog and Magog, messianic, etc.? Yeah, Wendy, were you about to say something?
You're saying, I looked it up and it says there's a geographical valley that is known as the Valley of Yehoshaphat, also called the Kidron Valley, but Rabbi Goldman would know better than I do on this.
I only know it with Kidron. I don't know if there is another place called Yoshaphat.
Mm. So it's not a place reference today in Israel.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, interesting. Oops. Yeah, I mean, my guy says, both. It could be either of those things, a real place or a place to be. All right, so we're gathering up all the nations. The El Ami Yado Goral Nu Hayeled Bazona V'Hayalda Michru Bayayin V'Yishtu. So this is a continuation of the previous pasuk, right? They divided my land amongst themselves, and they cast lots over my people, and they bartered a boy for a whore and sold a girl for wine, which they drank, right? So we now know that we are angry at these people, right? At these nations who are coming together. And there's going to be an element of retribution for the evils that they did to the Israelites. Israelites, I mean, broadly speaking, God's people. וגם מה אתם לי צור וצידון וכל גלילות פלשת הגמול אתם משלמים עליי ואת גומלים אתם עליי קל מהרה אשיב גמולכם בראשכם. What is this you are doing to me, O Tyre, Sidon, right? Sor and Sidon, and all the districts of Philistia? Are you requiting me for something I've done, or are you doing something for my benefit? Quick as a flash. I loved that was this translation. I thought that was funny. I will pay you back. Right. So it seems like while we're turning to like other nations on the side, and speaking to them. Yeah, I mean, Rashi, my guy says, Hem hameha amim haktanim hasmuchim eretz Yisrael, right? These are the small nations, the minor nations that are next to Israel. Yeah, right. There's a theme in prophetic literature of anger towards the nations that conquered, but really more the sense of betrayal towards the neighboring nations, the smaller nations who either sat and watched on or also came in and pillaged. And so the argument is that this is like a call to those nations also, right? We know you weren't the ones who came in and conquered, but you were happy to hop on the bandwagon. Any footnotes, comments, anything?
Where exactly are you?
That was verse 4 of why we're talking to Sor and Sidon, to Tyre and Sidon.
Okay,
I
that's what
I
I thought.
I googled Yehoshaphat,
Mhm.
and although there is no place, but there was a king named Yehoshaphat that was trying to make connection with other nation and with northern Israel. So I don't
Beautiful.
know
Yeah.
if
And so is this a fight against that? Great.
That would make more sense.
Except he was a good king.
he was a good king. He was trying to gather and make peace with the others.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right. And if we understand it that way, then what is the message of this I don't even know. Revenge, right? Messianic like revenge happening there. It's a good question.
Well, it's not
yeah.
all a revenge. Part of it is positive. We're all gathering under the same roof, and we're all being judged in the same place. So there is exception to that reunion, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm
I don't know. We'll
stretching it.
see. We'll see. It just gets more and more interesting. Okay, I'll pay you back. Ashiv mulchem beroshechem, asher kaspi v'zahavi lakachtem, umachamadi, excuse me, hatovim hebeitem lechem, oh boy, lehechel lechem. For you have taken my gold and my silver, and have carried off my precious treasures to your palaces. Right, so again, with the plundering. Uvnei Yehuda, Uvnei Yerushalayim, Machartem, Livnei Hayavanim, Lema'an Harchikam Me'al Gvulam. And you sold the people of Judah and the people of Jerusalem to the Ionians, so that you have removed them far away from their homeland. Right? You sold them to get them away and to try to break that connection. My guy says, Anshe Am Yavan, right? These are the people of a nation called Yavan, and Yavan Nichshava Lemakom Rachok Meretz Yisrael. And it's considered to be a land that was far from Israel. Does anyone have anything on that?
Yeah, and
Okay, nothing on the
that's
Ionians.
basically,
Mm-hmm.
he sold them to the Greeks in order to distance them from their border.
Okay, so it says Greeks. Yeah, I don't know enough of my ancient history to know the difference between Greeks and Ionians and
Well, Ionians would be Greeks, would it not? Ionia was
Yeah.
I
right?
don't know.
That
Yeah, okay. All right. Hineni me'iram min hamakom asher machartem otam shama, v'hashivoti mulchem beroshchem. Behold, I will rouse them to leave the place you have sold them to, and I will pay you back. Does anyone have a different translation of I will pay you back?
I
I
will.
will visit your action upon your head.
Okay.
I will return the retribution up on your own head.
Okay. Janet, what do you have?
I will return your requital to you. If you sold the children of Judah and to Jerusalem the Greeks in order to distance them from their border, behold, I will rouse them from the place to which you sold them, and I will return your requital upon your head.
What does that mean? I will return your requital upon your head. What does that mean here? Like literally in English, what does that mean?
I'll pay you back.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's negative compensation, right? Like it's not we say measure for measure, midah keneged
Yeah,
midah, right?
Yeah. Well, when you pay something
They
back,
bought our children in order to hoard them out, and Hashem is going to sell them. I guess it says so. He's taking them away from this place that they basically they didn't get their money's worth because it was a negative transaction.
Okay. Okay, great.
Pay you back always has a negative connotation.
No, but actually,
What's-
the rabbi said that when somebody returns finishes returning their full debt, they should party. And the shul in Toronto where my parents got married, Shari Tefillah, in the entrance there's a picture of the rabbi burning the deed when the mortgage was all paid off, and it was.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, so normally, yes, a lot of people are worried about it, but on the other hand, when Hashem does it, it's I don't know.
so could have pay you back something can have either a negative or a positive connotation depending on the situation that you're talking about. Because
I
on the
think
one
if
hand, you could say, "Oh, if you'll loan me this money, I'll pay you back, or I'll pay you back with interest."
Right.
You know,
That's
it
true.
could be a
That's
good
true.
connotation. But the other thing is, you do this to me, bad thing to
I'll-
me, I'll pay you back and do this bad thing to you.
Right.
so it can go either way.
The word payback always means
Yeah.
something bad, right? It's
Yeah.
payback. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Mhm.
going to say that if the pasuk stopped at Gemulchem, it would have been positive because Gamal is to redeem, but it's Gemulchem beroshechem, which has a
Ah.
negative connotation. So this is
Mhm.
one of the psukim that even the wording alludes to a mixture of good and bad at the same time.
Mm. Oh, interesting. Okay. Beautiful. All right. Umacharti epenechem ve'epenotechem beyad bnei Yehuda umecharum lishvaim el goy rachok ki Hashem diber. I will deliver your sons and daughters into the hands of the people of Judah, and they will sell them into captivity to a distant nation, for God has spoken. Right. So as we were just talking about, this is very literal payback, right? Doing the same thing to you that you did to them, which I'm sure some people would question, why is that necessary, right? Is payback like, is the goal to sort of rise above the desire for payback? You know,
So do you have anything about the Shebaites in your notes, Ruth, instead of just into distant captivity or distant?
no, I do not. Let me, oh my God, yeah, leave Shiva, right. Like the yeah, the Queen of Shiva, Shiva Mubit. It's given in as it's an example of a faraway land.
To the east
Oh,
instead of to the west.
this stuff I had looked at.
Or sorry, Tyre and Sidon are right up north,
Mm-hmm.
and Greece is west. So Shva, I believe that the Ethiopian Jews think that they are descendants of Solomon, King Solomon, with Queen of Sheba, which is Yemen,
Mm.
right across the sea from them. So, but yeah, if that's the translation, then it's even a greater revelation of Hashem's actions, because they took them all the way to the west, and he's taking them all the way to the east.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very good. Okay. Interesting. Hmm. Yeah, this might he only implies this Shiva. Yeah, he doesn't even go anywhere else. That's interesting. Okay. Now here we have this very interesting pasuk, and I can't wait to hear how you have it translated. Kir'u zot bagoyim. So proclaim this among the nations. Kadshu milchama, ha'iru hagiborim, yigshu ya'alu kol anshe hamilchama. So prepare for battle, arouse the warriors, let all the fighters come and draw near. So, what do we have? Does anyone have a different translation other than prepare for battle? Do you have anything else?
I would say call for battle. It's kir'u zot bagoim. The word that's kind of funny here is katshu milchama. So it's like
Exactly. How
it's
would you
a
translate that, Aya?
a holy war.
Right. Yes. So I'm so curious what translations you all have, and then we'll talk about the significance of that.
They have Michal in Lo Yisagoy, don't they?
Yeah, the opposite. Yeah. Um, so what do you have for proclaim this among the nations blank for battle? Does everyone else also have prepare?
Prepare
Yeah,
for war.
I have prepare also. Prepare for war.
So it's interesting. I was looking at all the commentaries before, and they seem to say either hachinu, right? Prepare. Actually I should ask you, how would you translate as hazminu?
Invite.
Yeah, so but can it ever mean prepare? Or does it really imply only invite? Because prepare and invite, la'achin ve'le'azmin, is obviously very, very different.
Lazmin is to invite. It's come from the shorish
Right,
is zman, which is time.
right. So this is why I was very confused by that. Here he says, Hachinu ve'chachrizu milchama, prepare for and then declare war. And Okay, so I wanted to talk, yeah, for a minute about this word, right?
Yes,
Kadshu. Yeah, go
we have
ahead.
prepare, announce this among the nations, prepare for war, arouse the mighty men, let all the men of war approach and ascend.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Alu. Okay, great. So the question is this, what is this prepare for war, right? Like I said, I looked at the mafarshim that are available in Sefaria. Most said lehachin, one said lehazmin, right? Hazminu, invite war. That's very different, right, than prepare. You prepare for war, maybe if someone's coming to attack you, the inevitable, right? Hazminu is like start it up, right? Now, as I have pointed out, the Hebrew is kadshu, which, like Kodesh, sanctify for war. This guy says that he thinks that the Lashon of Kedusha is because because the people who would go out to war would mitkadshim tchila, like they would purify themselves first, right? So so kadshu means here like it does mean purify or holy, but that's because it was just part of the preparation. Now,
But
I've been mentioning that I was excited about a cultural reference. One of the gentlemen with whom I shared davening duties for the Sephardi minyan, I don't remember how this came up, but he reads people of different backgrounds, and he told me, I don't have the cover, but this is Pete Hegseth's book, The War on Warriors. And Pete, I know. So this is why I'm presenting. It's very interesting. What's it called when you put a quote on the first page? Is that the inscription? It's this,
On a flyleaf, you mean, of a book?
yeah, like the beginning. He has like the dedication to his whatever,
Mhm.
for the dedication, and then like a page with just a quote.
Oh,
What is
boy.
the quote? It is this verse and the next verse from Sefer Yoel, but he has it translated as proclaim this among the nations, consecrate for war. And so I thought that was extremely interesting because, he he clearly is very involved with war, right? And lots of political commentary there, and that when he's writing a book about like protecting warriors, when sort of what he sees as the feminization, the tarnishing of the army, he puts this pasuk in his introduction and translates it as consecrate, right? So war now gets imbued with this sense of godliness, of holiness, which I
Holy
thought was
war.
just very interesting because our sources don't really translate it as any element of that this word implies any element of holiness of the war, right? War itself is not holy, is how all of our translations, whether it's the JPS or the classical biblical commentaries, none of them have imbued it with that sense of holiness. And yet the introduction to Pete Hegseth's book, Dafka, has that translation. I did try to poke around and see if this chapter plays any role in Christian right theology or whatever. I mean, I didn't find anything. It's a very obviously broad topic, so I probably didn't Google it well enough. But I was intrigued by that.
so I'm looking at the pasuk, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I figured out why they translated that to prepare for battle. There are different steps here.
Mm-hmm.
Kachu, purify yourself, if we take that translation. Wake the Giborim,
Mm-hmm.
and then go and get ready for the war. Ikshu ve'yalu. So you have all the steps to get, what are the steps that you have to take to get ready for this war? And that's why I think they translated prepare for battle.
Because it's like introducing the preparations. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
operational. You have to, I don't know. I don't know if a soldier have to go to the mikveh before they go
I think that's
to,
what it's saying that yeah, I mean, that's what my guy is saying that they did. That was part of the process.
yeah,
Yeah.
so purify yourself,
Right.
wake up, go and climb up, Yalu, and gather, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the translation took it to prepare for battle.
It's just, I mean, just to think about the power of this chapter and being all about getting prepared for God's battle. Again, prepare. Is it invite, right? Is it like has Minu started up, or is it consecrate? I don't know. Just you can see how those three interpretations can lead to like totally different perspectives on war, especially when you think you are fighting God's war, right? Which I'm sure
Yeah.
people have disagreements about what is God's war.
Ruth, your other question about other religions, when I was looking up the Valley of Jehoshaphat, they said it played a very important part in the Quran.
Oh,
Hmm.
I was just
hmm.
thinking of their holy wars, etc.
Oh, interesting. Hmm, that's so cool. All right. Gotta look more into that. See, I love this chapter. All right. So the next one
That's
is,
a little scary too, because we think of what does a holy war mean to, to
yeah,
Islam,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not it's not a real good thing for us.
Nope. It's not. No, not at all. All right. So now we get the great pasuk. Kotu itechem lecharavot umazmorotechem lir machim hachalash yomar gibor ani. So beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let even the weakling say, Gibor ani, I am strong, right? And so in the previous pasuk, it's Ha'iru Hagiborim, arouse the warriors. Here, really, I wish they would just maintain the translation just so you can appreciate the consistency of the Hebrew. Now we want the Chalash, the weak person, to say Gibor ani, right? Same word. This
It's
is
exactly like the opposite of
exactly, right? So I
Isaiah.
have it
Yeah,
here just to pull up. I just click here. This is from Isaiah, right? The one that we're more
yeah, it's
familiar with.
exactly the opposite of Isaiah.
Yep. Swords into plowshares, spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not take up sword against nation. Lo yamadu ad milchama. We will never, no war anymore. And boom, get to Yoel. And actually, let's flip that.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. I have to say I was like not aware of this. I just never learned Yoel before. So when my co-teacher brought me the Hegseth book a couple months ago, I was like, what is going on? And I was really excited that we were doing Yoel. Um, yeah, and so uh, I mean, it's funny. I'm teaching a class right now called Jewish Ethical Dilemmas, and we're just wrapping up a unit on war. So war is very much in my mind, right? And like, especially the effect that World War II had on the way that America thought about war, right? Wanted to avoid at all costs. And, that quote from Isaiah is on the UN. And now our Secretary of Defense has the inverse of the quote as the intro to his book. And what does that mean about are there major cultural shifts happening in America with how we think about war? Or is it just, I mean, I don't want to overread it. It could just be there are just some people who like war or strength or whatever, right? But is strength avoiding war or is strength inviting war?
Somebody wrote a book titled that, like the opposite.
So oh yeah, you're Canadian. Do you know who Pete Hegseth is? Sorry.
No.
Oh, Pete Hegseth is our current Secretary of Defense. I don't think he's considered to be the best member of the cabinet. He is a former Fox News host, and one of his main things is like the feminization, maybe he would even say castration of the American military. He's very anti women being in the military. He's very anti the DEI initiatives. He thinks they've weakened it. And so he's the one who quotes, consecrate yourselves for war in the opening to his book.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So anyway, mhm.
Hey,
Oh, and then I skimmed a whole academic article about like because Yoel, the final fascinating element is because Yoel is this untethered book in history, right? We don't know when it is, where it is, anything like that. Of course, what came first, right? Yeshayahu. There's also stuff in Micha. And so the author of this article like mapped out, the different flow charts of the like, the what are those called? The when you map out the genes by generation, genetic, you know what I'm saying? Like the parent, grandparents, parents, child. Anyway, so there's different ones.
Genealogy.
Yeah, the genealogy, right? And so you can do that also for these books about like which of these came first, Isaiah or Joel. Big difference.
Yes, it isn't there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The last thing I will say is that in honor of Janet, so Janet's daughter, Rena Opert, works at the Museum of the Bible in downtown DC. And in their like Second Temple room, they have lots of Roman arrowheads, first of all, from the destruction of the Second Temple, but they also have an ancient pruning hook. And so I remember I went once on Tisha B'Av, and she showed me just the physical, like the actual pruning hook, or was it the plow? I don't remember which one. One of them is in the museum. And because you can literally, see the object, you can understand what it means to like turn it into a sword, or to turn a sword into it. So, yeah.
I'm enjoying this agricultural
I know.
metaphor.
I was like, oh, I don't remember exactly. It was a few years ago, right? But I just remember saying like, that makes so much sense now that you see it, right? Okay. Oshu uvo vavou kol hagoyim misaviv benikbatsu shama hanchat Hashem giborecha. This word gibor keeps coming up over and over again. So rouse yourselves, different understandings of what this word means. Oshu, all you nations come together from round about. There bring down your warriors, O Eternal One. How do we have different translations for do we have different translations for this one?
The nations shall rouse themselves and go up to the valley of judgment, for there I will sit to judge all the nations from around.
Huh. So Giporecha doesn't really factor into the translation. Does it? This warrior or strong?
Here they don't translate Jehoshaphat. They have just the let the nations rouse themselves and go up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there I sit to judge all the nations from all around.
That's the next pasuk.
Oh yeah. Sorry, we're in 11. I'm sorry, I didn't even realize. I thought it was filling things in. Wait, so
I'm sorry.
does anyone? So no one has Giborecha in the translation? Also, this warrior stuff.
I have an Orthodox Union website. It's like all English to me. Haste, Haste, haste. Ye, and come, all ye nations round about, and gather yourselves together. Thither, Thither, thither cause thy, Thy, mighty ones to come down, O Lord.
Mighty ones.
Very
okay, interesting. Yeah. So and the book I have here, he basically says this is like a messed up pasuk, and it's like not clear what's going on. So, and that's what they say here, meaning of Hebrew uncertain. Okay. So, and then the next pasuk is kind of the same idea. Ye'oru ve'ya'alu hagoyim el emek Yehoshaphat, ki sham eshev lishpot et kol hagoyim misaviv. Let the nations rouse themselves and march up to the valley of Yehoshaphat, for there I will sit in judgment over all the nations round about. I see more like misaviv, like surrounded, but yeah. So now we see that everyone's going to come for judgment, which does not imply anything good for them. Shilchu magal ki vashal katsir bo'u urdu ki mal'a gat heshiku hayikavim ki rabba ra'atam. Swing the sickle, for the crop is ripe. Come and tread, for the winepress is full. The vats are overflowing, for great is their wickedness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. My guy goes into a lot of detail explaining all these like agricultural metaphors. Excuse me. So then the different things these represent about the enemies. I don't want to go into it all now for the sake of time, but basically, to read this as like different metaphors for how the enemies have been really bad, and God's going to destroy them. Hamonim hamonim be'emek hecharutz ki karov yom Hashem be'emek hecharutz. Multitudes upon multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of God is at hand in the valley of decision. Anyone have a different translation than hecharutz? No.
I'm sorry. I got interrupted for a second in the middle with a call. Are we on line 12?
No, we're in 14.
On 14 already. Okay.
Yeah. All I said about 13 is it's just different metaphors for the enemies and how they're gonna be destroyed. Okay, Valley of Decision. All right.
So all of this come and trample, the grapes for the winepress is full, the vats have overflowed. Those are metaphors for people.
Or the enemies. Mm-hmm.
God is speaking to the agents of destruction who are now to harvest the crops of divine vengeance.
Right. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
They have a beautiful explanation. It says, the nations are full of their sins, like ripe grapes are full of juice. It's time to squeeze them.
It's time to squeeze them. Right. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Get that out. Okay, and everyone's here in this valley of decision, right? Waiting. Shemesh ve'arech kadaru ve'kochavim asfu nagham. So sun and moon are darkened. Remember, we saw that also in an earlier one, that the moon will be bloodied, and stars withdraw their brightness. So there's a lot of this apocalyptic imagery. Ve'Hashem mitzion yish'ag u'miyushalayim yiten kolo ve'ra'ashu shamayim va'aretz ve'Hashem machazeh alei amo u'ma'oz livnei Yisrael. So God will roar from Zion and shout aloud from Jerusalem so that heaven and earth tremble. And God will be a shelter to this covenanted people, a refuge to the children of Israel. All right. V'yadatem ki ani Hashem Elokechem shochen b'Tzion har kodshi v'hayta Yerushalayim kodesh v'zarim lo ya'avru va'od. And you shall know that I am the eternal your God, dwell in Zion, my holy mount, and Jerusalem shall be holy. And I think this is important. Nevermore shall strangers pass through it. Zarim lo ya'avru va'od. I can imagine that can be interpreted in many ways to lead to interesting decisions.
And this week's parsha, it says, "V'yishavtim la'aretz levetach v'cherev lo tavar b'artzachem." Or Chaim says, if you're already levetach, then what's this other promise of cherev? So he explains that Ashur won't even go to Egypt through your country, and other nations won't pass through. Even if they're peaceful with you, there will not be any kind of involvement in their other wars. So
interesting, because we get pretty mad at other nations for not letting us pass through their land in the Torah.
Yeah, Isaiah and Yoel never thought that was going to be an option.
That's
no, but you're right. That's it's part of the signs of the time that even France and Britain got us involved in the Suez crisis in '56. It was way before I was born, but I'm just saying, Ben Gurion wrote a whole book about it and basically admitted that it was a failure of the people of Israel to participate in something that was, yes, it was affecting the whole world, but it had nothing to do with us per se. That's the last time we were in Gaza, before '67.
Yeah. Oh, very interesting. All right. Let's see. We only have a couple more psukim. Let's see if we can get that done. V'haya b'yom hahu yitvu heharim asis v'hagvaot telachna chalav v'chol afikei Yehuda yelchu mayim u'ma'ayan mibeit Hashem yitzei v'hishkat nachal hashitim. And in that day the mountains shall drip with wine, the hills shall flow with milk, and all the watercourses of Judah shall flow with water. A spring shall issue from the house of God and shall water the wadi of the acacias. That sounds better in Hebrew. Nachal Hashitim. All right, so we get water, all those things we love, right? Mitzrayim lishmama tihiyeh, ve'edom lamibar shmama tihiyeh, mechamas b'nei Yehuda asher shafchu dam naki be'artzam. So not only are we going to have the good stuff, but Egypt will be a desolation, and Edom a desolate waste, because of the outrage to the people of Judah, in whose land they shed the blood of the innocent. Yehuda le'olam teshev, v'Yerushalayim l'dor v'dor. But Judah shall be inhabited forever, and Jerusalem through the ages. I don't love that translation, but whatever. V'niketi damam lo niketi v'Hashem shochem b'tzion. Thus I will treat as innocent their blood that I have not treated as innocent, and God shall dwell in Zion. Does anybody have a different translation for this last pasuk?
And I will cleanse, but
Yeah.
I will not
Yeah.
cleanse, and Hashem dwells in Zion.
Okay, yeah, that sounds better. It's still a little clumsy, but all right. He also here says pasuk satum, like it's
What does it mean though?
yeah.
I have a footnote that says, though I will cleanse the nations by forgiving many of their sins, I will not forgive them for the bloodshed they perpetrated against Israel. When Hashem dwells in Zion, that is, at the end of days, they will be punished. So they're going to be punished, all right, but it won't be till the end of days. So it's, we're talking when the Mashiach comes, I guess.
And right, and so that goes back to, yes. And
it's a long time to wait. Not going to happen soon.
I don't know why, but I'm just really drawn to this. I mean, I'm just fascinated. I'm fascinated by the way that Isaiah has been taught as the primary text. And what I didn't really appreciate until I learned Sefer Yoel is just how much of that might, I don't know for sure, but might be just a reflection of the world that we all live in, right? And how our governments and societies want us to think about things. And obviously I much prefer the Isaiah vision to the Yoel vision. I don't want everyone to go to war, right? But I just think it's so interesting that out there is this flip, right? And what that means, and so what do we do with that, right? Does one cancel out the other? Are they just for different times? What does it mean that a guy in charge of our military and defense likes this one? I don't know. That's a lot to think about.
What do we know historically about when the book of Yoel was actually written? What time are we really?
We really don't know. It's the one book, like I said, it's just kind of this floating thing. It doesn't proclaim itself to be of any particular time or location.
But historically, scholars don't know.
That I don't remember. I don't remember. We could look that up and see if they've made any bigger calls about that.
It would be really interesting to know.
Yeah. So now we've got this cool book with this really interesting imagery of locusts coming and destroying everything. And don't worry, as long as you do tshuva, God's going to save you, right? So it's not that doom and gloom, because it's reversible. And then it ends with this amazing scene of, God just decimating anyone who ever wished us harm or did us harm. And there we go. Where even the weak one is now a warrior, right? It's very empowering, militaristic, all the things.
So the question was, what was happening actually to Israel at that time?
Yeah, I don't know.
I tried to look what period they attribute to Yoel. At least one of the periods is the period of the Second Temple, and some association to the Persian and Ottoman Empire.
That's later, no?
Yeah, I mean, they're not sure of the date, as you said, so they have a big spread of when it could be. But it's also the period where the Greek were involved. So, I mean, you wouldn't know to refer to the Greek if you have a name.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah. That's a good, yeah.
If it wasn't during that period. But yeah, there is no specific time.
Mm-hmm.
The last Psukim can even apply to our period right now, or at least partially. Egypt is not desolate, but
Very interesting stuff. Yeah. Thanks for joining, everyone. This has been fun.
Thank you, Ruth.
Yeah, I hope
yeah.
so. What's Amos is next? That's a good one too.
Yisrael
Yeah,
Tokach.
learning good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have a great week,
All right.
everyone. It was
Thank
lovely
you.
to see you. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Very good.
Thank you.
What is
Bye.
next week?
I have to miss,
What
I have to miss
week?
next one.
You have to miss next week? Okay.
I'm having a surgical procedure.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good luck.
What we,
Shlema.
I'll be back,
Yeah.
God willing, the next week.
Yes.
what are
Awesome.
we reading next week?
I'm sorry, Elena. What?
What are we reading next week?
Amos. Well, Amos in Hebrew or Amos. Yeah, I don't know.
Amos.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Terrific. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.